And as you notice where you're present with at this moment, welcoming yourself means exactly that. Just allowing for whatever you're present with to just be here, to just notice in it. And you might be able to notice your overall state by just noticing the breath. So you might notice that the breath is kind of fast when there's a lot of energy in the body, whether it's like excitement or nervous energy. The breath just goes really fast. So it's a really good indicator of our overall state. And then when you're just like at ease and relaxed, the breath is really deep and long, even sometimes. And so there's nothing to do right now. There's absolutely nothing that you need to change at this moment. But just allowing the breath to flow normally. And what we're doing is just noticing the quality of the breath. There's no right, there's no wrong. It is all welcome. Whenever you feel that you've lost track of the breath, you can always take in a deep breath. Just becoming really aware of that inhale and that exhale. And as the body breathes, maybe you can notice here it is the inhale, there is the exhale. And just noticing what that feels in the body. Where do you feel the breath? There might be some stories playing in the mind. Whenever you notice that, seeing if you can just come back here to this body, settling, noticing those areas of contact of the body, noticing the surface that's holding you, the floor, the chair. Just becoming aware of what it feels like when the body is in contact with the surface. Feeling the heaviness of the body or the lightness of the body. Noticing the pull of gravity here as it keeps you rooted in your seat, the floor. And allowing for this sense of heaviness or this sense of lightness to be grounding. Perhaps your feet are in contact with the floor, maybe in contact with the shoe, the socks. Or maybe becoming aware of the mouth and the tongue and the position of the tongue. And seeing if maybe it can just be the bottom of the mouth. Seeing if that makes a difference on your overall state, whether it's relaxation or maybe tension. Just noticing what it feels like. You allow the tongue to just relax at the bottom of the mouth. Maybe releasing the jaw, dropping the shoulders. And inviting yourself to be fully alive in this moment, fully here, fully present. Whatever you notice, tension or tightness, just seeing if you can let it go, if you can just soften around it. Sometimes just paying attention to it just softens up. But if it remains, and that's okay too. So welcoming everything the way it is right now. And so here it is. These are your anchors: the breath, the body, sensations in the hands or the feet. Knowing that at any moment during this meditation, you can always come back to these anchors. Any moment during your life, you can always come back here to this place, noticing the subtlety of life, becoming one with experience. And just noticing your overall state of mind, heart, body. You're holding it all in this awareness, this container that gets more expensive as we pay attention. Knowing that this awareness container can hold it all. And just tapping into a sense of ease that already exists here, right here in this container. Allowing that sense of ease to just allow you to navigate all these different areas of experience. What is in the thinking mind, what is in the heart and the emotions, any physical sensations that might be present. And whenever you're ready, just returning your attention to the breath, anchoring on the breath, or maybe the palms of your hands or the feet on the ground. And when I say the breath, that means maybe noticing the sensation of the breath coming in and leaving, becoming aware of the time when you're inhaling and exhaling, just anchoring in here. And whenever you're ready at your own pace, turning your attention towards the thinking mind. You might have noticed that the mind was going on and off while we were anchoring, but then the moment we turn towards it, sometimes it just goes blank. And then there is a thought. There is no thoughts. So noticing that that's a thought as well. And just sitting here, kindly welcoming, noticing what comes up in this thinking mind, noticing where the thoughts take you, noticing what kind of thoughts rise up. And among all these thoughts, just noticing if they're helpful or unhelpful. What thoughts are helpful? What are unhelpful? And what are just neutral, taking you on a random story? Whenever you notice yourself getting caught up in a story, the story that the mind is telling, you can always just take in a deep breath as to score the attention right back here to the breath, or squeeze your hands as they come back to the sensation in your hands or your feet. And then maybe just staying here for a little bit with the breath or the sensation in the body. And coming back whenever you're ready, joining back and just watching thoughts, just becoming aware of the thinking mind, noticing the helpful, unhelpful, and then just a random kind of thinking that happens. And as you notice the thinking mind and notice the thoughts, you might notice as well maybe tension or tightness coming along with the thinking mind. Sometimes when unhelpful thoughts are present, they create tension in the body. Now, stressful thoughts, worrying, too much planning. So just noticing what happens. And then again, maybe taking in a breath, coming back to just watching the breath or feeling your hands or your feet. Noticing if there's a shift here as you do that. At any moment you notice overwhelmed, maybe the breath going really fast or pressure in the chest, anything like this. And just noticing what kind of thoughts are behind that. And also noticing if there's any way that maybe you can take a deep breath Maybe even becoming curious about the sensation, paying attention to it with kindness. Always remembering that there cannot be curiosity and stress at the same time in the same moment. So let's choose curiosity when we notice stress. Let's be curious about it, opening up to it. They can all coexist. So as we do this, I'd like to invite you in just a short reflection. So perhaps you can bring to mind maybe a conversation, really mild, nothing too big, but maybe a mild disagreement with someone. You know, the sort of mild disagreement of like you say potatoes, I say potatoes, something light and easy. But just something that was a disagreement, maybe with someone, or a moment that was really uncomfortable in some way, but in a scale up to 4, maybe not something too big, but just something light and easy, but that felt as a, this is a bit uncomfortable. So just take a moment to kind of think of something. It could have been, getting a bill and being on the phone with somebody that cannot explain what the charges are about. Something along those lines. So I'll just give you a moment to come up with an event in which there was a disagreement. A mild disagreement. As this comes to mind, I'd invite you to notice the thoughts about it, kind of tapping into your inner child's imagination and creating the scene. Don't have to see it, but just noticing. What were some of the thoughts that you had about this? And as you notice the thoughts, maybe you can ask yourself a question. How do I feel when I believe this thought or these thoughts? How do I feel when I believe these thoughts? So noticing how the body feels, noticing if there's tension or tightness. We're noticing if there's an underlying emotion as you believe these thoughts of maybe this conflict, this disagreement. And now ask yourself, what kind of place is the world when I believe this thought or these thoughts? Now just noticing how the world shows up in this moment, unsafe, unfair. Conflicting. And as you hold all this in awareness, seeing if there is a way that you might not identify with this, with the thoughts. Seeing if we can just noticing them without identifying. So if the thought was, you know, this person is not listening, or I'm not heard, or not seen, people don't care about me, whatever it is, just noticing the thought as a thought. It's just a thought. And noticing the ripple effect in the with the thought, the belief behind it, and what the world becomes when I have this thought. And now again, as you recall this event, this mild disagreement, perhaps also noticing, along with that thought, is there any other possibility for the moment, for how I'm seeing the moment? Is there another possibility here? So if I felt like this person wasn't paying attention, or they weren't listening, or, you know, maybe the stress of having to deal with somebody on the phone, it's another possibility. Could they be busy? Could they be having a hard time themselves? What comes up for you? So, what is a different way of looking at it? So, coming up with maybe a supportive way of seeing it. What would support you in this moment? What's another possibility? And as you come up with other possibilities that are enhancing, supportive, kind, what do you notice in the body? How do you feel? Just ask yourself, how do I feel when I believe this now? And what kind of place is the world when I believe this? When I see a different possibility? So Byron Katie says, you're always safe other than what you're thinking and believing. And this is how people have the right to say it is a beautiful world. It is a flawless world, she says, and life is a gift. And I love that I am not missing it. So just for a moment now, coming back to your breathing, to your hands or your feet, taking in a deep breath. Maybe just inviting for this little exercise every time you notice there's conflict, every time you notice that there's conflicting thoughts, stress. What else is here that I'm not seeing? What is another possibility here? William Stafford, in his poem Just Thinking, says, got up on a cool morning, leaned out a window, no clouds, no wind, air that flowers held for a while, some dove somewhere. Been on probation most of my life, and the rest of my life has been condemned. So these moments count for a lot. Peace, you know. Let the bucket of memory down into the well. Bring it up. Cool, cool minutes. No one staring, no plans, but just being here. This is what the whole thing is about, just being here. So I thank you for taking the time in this day, in this holiday. I thank you for being here.